And so to the second session of second round heats in the BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby. We know the first 24 in the draw. Let's find out the remaining 24 in the draw. Kevin, I think it's safe to say the Derby came alive tonight.
Yeah, it did. And a lady is leading the way. McDonough, a special mention to her. She was simply awesome again tonight. But there's plenty of chances. We were all talking about it over the far side. Someone walked by and said, it's an unbelievable derby. There's never been a bad derby. It just doesn't happen that way. But I honestly think if you give me 6 chances, I'd still probably miss. It's just that there's just so much depth in this one. It's really exciting.
Well, let's get into it. The first heat tonight, Heat 9, and a good start. Mucky Bray. It wasn't one of the more high-profile heats, but Mucky Bray did it well. He was really pushed hard by Wine Tavern Don, who challenged up the outside into the third bend. But Mucky Bray held his line, forced his way back to the front, and once doing so, was never going to be beaten. He wins a length or so in 29.62. Mucky Bray, a decent dog, may not win a derby, but he's going to be a player in the early yards in some races, and you don't want him around you.
Yeah, he's the one dog. I think there's more to him. I think he can go faster. Now, I know he popped out and done everything right. I just think there's more in this dog. This is a dog I thought, of all the dogs in the Derby, I thought coming into it, this lad just fitted a bill underneath the radar. Curly Mick had him. He's got early. I was just waiting for this lad to really explode. Hasn't happened just yet. Now, listen, 29.62 he done tonight. He's 3 or 4 lengths probably off the best of them. So he's not a million miles away. He's still a young dog. He's only a March. He's improving. I think there's more to come from him. On what basis? I'm not basing it on anything. I don't know any inside information or anything. It's just I think he's a little bit better than 29.60 dog. I think he can go quicker. I'm waiting for that to happen. Like you said, Wine Tavern, Don, Mertz, Boher, they're 3 nice young dogs that are going the right direction, and there'll be a breath of fresh air in the next round.
Mertz Boher's just yet to win here at Shelburne Park. He's had his chances. If he could produce his best Clonmel form, I've no doubt he's as fast as many dogs that are in this derby. It'd be interesting to see if he can hit the lid some night and do his running. On to Heat 10, and this was another, speaking of Mertz Boher, this was a Graham Holland trained runner, Toto's Park, who led home a 1-2 for Graham at Toto's Park. He came alive this time of year a year ago. And he's done it again. A fine performer for Dennis Fogarty and Tony McCormick. He did everything right. 29.67 on the front. He's a great campaigner, a great consistent performer. He's now 4 years of age, into his 5th year. You'd love to own a dog like him. He's not going to win a derby, but like so many, he could play a part.
Yeah, well, we thought he was going to win a derby last year. He was a major player last year. I think this was probably his best run in a while for me. I know things didn't work out for him in Nottingham, but this was the Toto's Park we saw last year, who just literally, when the boxes opened, he just exploded. I thought he was exceptional last year. He's a good stalwart for the kennel, and I'm sure he's given all the connections a great thrill. He very, very rarely runs a bad race. Didn't work out for him in Nottingham. I think it maybe dented his confidence a little bit, but that's more like the Toto's Park I know. 29.67, probably not what he once was, but I'm sure they'll be over the moon getting a trophy to go home with tonight. Ballydoyle Valor, a dog we know has exceptional ability. Does he have enough early pace would be the one question I'd have, but he's another one of those that fits the market with a big engine, but just needs a little bit of luck in the early strides. And Sophie's Man will be delighted to go through for Peter Cronin, a nice winner last week and got through again this week.
Yeah, Ballydoyle Valor, a dog that probably has yet to really click, but given his breeding and whatnot, he could even stay further in time, maybe a top 6 bend performer in time. Moving ahead, Heat 11. And this was the heat. It was the one we flagged up prior to racing, prior to the action. McDonough, Magical Bale, Lenz and Bocco. We wondered, could the remainder get involved? They would need a little bit of luck, or the big 3 would need a bit of bad luck. As it was, there was a small bit of bad luck for the Magical Bale and Lenz and Bocco, but this was all about McDonough. She flashed out. She didn't have the pace to hold Magical Bale, and in the end, Lenz and Bocco showed great pace to go second. But when the front 2 clashed off the second bend, she was ready to pounce, and she moved through the gears. It was devastating to the third bend. Lenz and Bocco came right at her to sit in her tail, but she raced away to win by 4 lengths. She is a special lady. It's been a while since a bitch won the Derby. I think we have a serious contender this year.
Yeah, we'd love it, wouldn't we? Every year there seems to be 1 or 2 bitches. We probably thought coming in it was between herself and Arminta. Things didn't work out, as we know, for Ballymac Arminta. 4 and 6 did collide. Magical Bale and Bocco did. I think she was in the position nearly anyway, and that's with the best of respect to Magical Bale and Lenz and Bocco. I think she was in the position at the second bend where she was going to be probably too strong for 4 and 6 anyway. Magical Bale, as we know, likes to get on the bunny. Lenson Bocco, a very young dog, still mature and still getting better. She is just A game at the moment. She thinks she's the greatest thing since sliced bread at the moment. She can't do anything wrong. She's breaking clocks in Cork. She's going up to Dundalk, winning the international. She's coming here and just setting the place alight. We say this, and it is a saying in greyhound racing, when you get a bitch in good form, they just keep striking. And at the moment, she's the most feared greyhound in the draw for me. From a personal point of view with my own owners, like, you just don't want to see her really in the best way possible. She's just awesome. She probably doesn't have blistering early. Now, and I'm nitpicking very much so, but she's good from a box. She goes well to the bend, but from the second bend, I don't think there's anything that can pick her up. I think if she's in front of you, you're going to be finishing behind her. She goes well down the back straight, but off the last bend, even when you said it, Lenson Bocco closed, you knew he was never going to get past her, because off the last bend, she'll kick again. Her clocks in Cork are sensational. What I seen her in Dundalk up close was awesome, and she's carrying it into Shelburne, and we all love a good story with one of the girls putting it up to the boys, and she's more than capable. She'll have them all worried.
I know you need luck through a derby, but I tweeted after the race, I think the three of these could potentially be in the derby final. I thought Lenson Bocco, despite finishing third, despite tiring up the home straight, I thought he raced tonight. He showed great pace, determination to get to Magical Bale, took the bump, got past Bale, got to the bitch, and then had bottomed out at that point. I thought it was a superb run by a young greyhound with real pace, while Magical Bale, I've no doubt there's still a week or two left in this dog until he reaches peak fitness. I think these three dogs are serious players in the derby, all three.
Without question, like, we've got one of the hottest pups in the country with Lenson Bocco. You've got arguably the best bitch in the country, and then Magical Bale, who's, I don't know, count how many derby finals he's been in at this stage, and he is probably due one. Like, he's good enough to win one. This could be the one. Like, we know he came over from England. We know he will improve. You just don't want Kilmacdonough turning level with you. If the two of them turn level most nights, my money would be on Kilmacdonough. I think she's just too strong. But I think when Magical Bale sharpens up a little bit, I think he'll have a little bit more early pace, and he'll hope to get a little bit further clear of her going down the back.
All week I've been getting notifications from Shelburne Park there's been a withdrawal in the derby and such. It seemed every second email was a withdrawal from Heat 12. As a result, we had only 3 runners. They were all guaranteed qualification. It should have been just an uneventful contest. We were expecting Grangeview Town to go to front, lead all, make all. He did that. It was great. It was a solo trial. But my God, this dog at some pace. 16.94 to the third bend. I think he did a 3.31. He's devastating. This is devastating to watch. I don't care what dog was up against him tonight. They were not leading this dog to the third bend. He's after posting the fastest time of the second round, 29.41. He stayed better than last week. No question about that. This is a major player in the derby. Yes, he's going to be troubled when there's a lot of early pace around him. We know that there is a bit more early pace against him next week in the draw with the benefit of hindsight, but this Grangeview 10 for Pat Guilfoyle, the Produce Stakes winner, is a serious derby challenger. Without
question. I said to Pat when he came in, a bit tongue-in-cheek, who would lead to the third bend between himself and Cabra Hurricane. I know you were a big admirer. He said it'd be some race, Pat sitting on the fence. I don't think it would be a race. I think this lad would lead him. I genuinely do. I think if this lad starts, I don't care what's in against him, I don't think they'll match him to the bend, or definitely not to the third bend. He's absolutely sensational to the corner. What he done in the first round for me was nearly more impressive than what he done tonight. It was a solo tonight. We knew after what he done last week that he had this in his locker, but when I watch back some of the heats, this one really stood out to me last week. He was in against a dog with really good early pace. He didn't trap as well, and he just went by him as if the dog had stopped. I think if this lad starts on terms, he leads everything in the competition, and who knows, final night here, he could well be in front at the third bend. They'll all be coming at him, and he'll have to stay as strong as he's staying at the moment. And we know it's 6 weeks. It's not 2 weeks, it's 6 weeks. It's 6 tough weeks. The early pacers, they tend to fly now, and they'll continue for the next couple of weeks. It's when you get to the quarter-final, semi-final, final stage, that's when it gets a little bit more tougher on the early pacers. But who knows? I watched him closely over the far side. He's built like a tank as well. He really is. He just looks every inch of that sprinting type. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic. But you don't want to be drawn with this lad, because you're not leading him to the corner if he traps.
When I spoke to Pat Guilfoyle before the Derby about his Derby team, I was throwing this fellow in at the end, and Pat was trying his best to bring him up the pecking order and say, no, this Grangeview dog can run. Pat knows his greyhounds. On to Heat 13, and this was a tough watch. I think you knew as early as the second bend, oh no, he's too close, this is a worry. Run Happy again showed devastating early speed. You'd expect him to be staying on a bit better though. He's picked up at 29.59. I'm afraid JAYTee Tornado though, his Derby has come to an end despite winning the Heat. We always knew there was a little bit of rogue in him, shall we say. Tonight he got there early. There was the glance, there was the contact, and I'm afraid the stewards were probably left with no choice.
No, they weren't. I was speaking to Dad, the far side. He paraded him himself, and they turned around to him and said, we want you in here into the stewards room. He said, there's no point. So listen, they're animals. If you could teach them and tell them not to do it, you'd be a genius, but you can't. When you take the lead off him, it's in the lap of the gods. And Tornado, like you said, he has that bit of a jink in him, and tonight it got completely exposed. It was unfortunate, especially, you don't want to see it ever, but you definitely don't want to see it in a Derby. Luckily enough, he goes out and the fort goes through, and there is no hard luck story. When you see that, you just sort of dread that you interfere with the other dog and cost him his qualifying position, but we're lucky enough that didn't happen. His Derby's over. Like you said on Run Happy, he was the one I thought last week was probably the most impressive, but I think he hit the nail on the head. I was a little bit surprised he was picked up. Look, Tornado would pick up anything, we know that. When he turned second, the race was over, but in 29.59 I know there was trouble up the home straight, but would he have done 29.40? I don't know, but Pat's very good with a dog. He's a Derby winner, and this I think is his best chance now in the Derby, so I know this lad will be getting the full Monty, let's say, and he's a good starter. He's a tough dog. He'll need to lower his best time, but he's more than capable of doing it, as we've seen in the first round.
He's still only July 17, of course. He is a young dog. He probably only has come to the fore really in the last month or two, because he was a dog that was a bit inconsistent in the early stages, but he's doing things right. I suppose the most encouraging thing for supporters of Run Happy, of which I am one, was that he was 6 lengths clear at halfway. You know, it takes a good dog to do that. On another matter, any chance you could bottle the pace that JAYTee Tornado has? Absolutely
not. It's scary, trust me. What you're seeing up here is a fraction of what he can do. You should see him in a solo trial. A special word actually just for Sign on Aki. I was talking to connections over the far side. This dog is extremely nervous, like really, really, really nervous. It's a big step up from Tralee, and the connections are really fearing for him. I'm delighted to see them going through. The dog is a lot more nervous than the connections, but I'm sure that they'll be over the moon. And look, every run he gets under the lights up here with Shelburne with a big crowd, he'll improve. He's no slouch. Not great early pace, good enough stare. I'd love to see him go another few rounds.
Funny, through the Kingdom Derby, he was a bigger price every night than he looked like he should be. Maybe the nervousness, people knew about that. Maybe that's the reason. On to Heat 14, and here Ballymac Anton. For Liam Dowling, it was badly needed. He had a shocker on Friday night, Ballymac Anton, and latterly Ballymac Cooper gave him a double tonight. But Ballymac Anton, he's back to something like his best. 29.57 tonight. I thought he'd do better, but the clocks were strange a bit tonight. But Ballymac Anton did everything right. But again, a very encouraging display by none other than JT Taylor in second. I'm sure yourself and your father had a bit of a high five after that race.
Look, we'll keep going under the radar. We'll stay away from any of the fancy clocks and just try and produce them on the night. But Ballymac Anton, you give him trap one. I don't know what his strike rate percentage is at the moment from trap one, but he's exceptional from that jacket. Very, very professional tonight, and it's great to see him coming back into the dog he was in the Puppy Derby and in earlier competitions last year. Did go off the boil a little bit, but very much back in form. 3 on the bounce now. If you keep giving him trap one, he's going to be a big, big player. Taylor missed the break again. I don't know why he keeps missing the break. I don't know how many races in a row.
So did 5 in the same race. I wonder if something charged on the outside maybe.
I'm not sure, but he didn't trap, and then they bumped, and then he got bumped at the first bend, and I'm going like this can't be happening. But yeah, very impressive from halfway. We know how good he is from halfway. Hopefully he can start brushing up on his trapping boots, but we'll keep going under the radar.
Third spot went to Law Hill Josh. This is a dog that's yet to do anything right in the Derby in terms of trapping. He can go to that corner. He recovered great tonight to go second. Showed big pace to the third bend. That's what he's all about. To the third bend, of course, Taylor's going to pick him up at the home straight, but he's in one the next night, we know. and I just wouldn't be surprised if he ran a big race. He's in a very hot heat now, mind you, but the Law Hill Josh, I think he's an accident waiting to happen. Heat 15, and here we saw Ballymac Cooper. I was expecting this fellow to really throw himself into the Derby shake-up here tonight, especially from this draw in this company. I suppose workmanlike, but the clock suggested it was better than that. Music to our ears, the Gold Cup winner, Flash from Traps made virtually all the running to the third bend, at which point Ballymac Cooper finally got there, only made up a length down the back straight, but took it up at the third bend, then wandered up the home straight. It seemed to be tiring. It was a fine run on the clock, 29.49. You say, great, good run, but just something a little bit disappointing, just not quite firing on all cylinders.
He's a young dog. He's a very young dog. He's literally gone from an unraced stake into the puppy stake here, into the Derby. There is more to come from him, but like, he's a length off as good as what they're doing. I think he'd be a better dog in 6. I just think he's a better dog in 6. I've thought it since I've seen him in Kilkenny in his first ever race. I don't think he has 6 the next night, but I think when this lad gets 6, I think he'll be a better dog. He doesn't have brilliant early. I made a comment.
He's good early, but his trapping is letting him down a bit.
Exactly. I put him. I was talking to Shane over there, the far side, before the first round, and he reminded me of Taylor last year. That's what, to me, that's what he was. He was a young dog going the right direction, and was just not putting it together in the first half of the race. I was just a little bit surprised to see him cramping coming up the home straight, but he could have had an easy week, and who could knock anyone? Like, that dog's been, since the unraced stake, he's been literally...
He's been busy, yeah.
Week to week to week, and they could have given him an easy week, because there's a long, long way to go. Like, literally, we're scratching the surface. It's only next week they're all on the one card, and the next 4 weeks are going to be grueling. So it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe just eased off a little bit, fancied their chances to go through, and just took the foot off the pedal a little bit. Don't be surprised. Like, he's still up there with the fastest of them. I wouldn't be throwing away my docket if I was on him. I think he's still going the right direction, and I think there's still that big run in him.
Oh, for all I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he flashed out and did 29.15 on the bunny, and he's 4-1 favourite to Derby next day. That's the type of dog he is. That's the ability I know he has, and I just want him to show it. Moving on, the final heat of the round, and well, I think we finished off on a high note. Droopy's Hunch, I've been watching her here in Shelburne for months. She's only had the 21 starts. She's still September only. She's not 2 till next month. But this lady, just every night, she just gives her all. And the 550 run up is the making of her. She is flying to that corner. Tonight, she made professional dogs look amateur. Like, Blue East flew from boxes, and he couldn't hold a candle to her. She flew by him as if he was stopped, went on 3-4 legs clear, and holds on comfortably from Ballyhimmock and Jed, who ran a big race in the feet, but he is going to have to start hitting the lids a bit better. But Droopy's Hunch, she is a fair tool. I'm sure Mert is absolutely delighted with his performer.
Yeah, look, how could you not? It was a night for the ladies, Kill McDonough and herself, but she's awesome to the bend. I joked to Murty at the first when he came in. I said she'd be some bitch if she had early. She's brilliant to the corner, and the thing that I'm most impressed about her, I knew she had early, and Murty told me weeks ago that she'd done a 16-20 odd sprint in Kilkenny, which is just phenomenal. And I watched her over 5-5, and I know when they stepped her up into the Derby distance, I thought long run to the bend, she might get an extra half a length clear than going to the bend, but she'll get completely exposed coming home. I just didn't think she'd stay up to 550 strongly. She is. It's not a problem to her. I don't see her coming from behind and picking up dogs or anything like that, but if she was on the bunny, she's not going to ease off. That's not to say if a strong stayer's not in behind her, they wouldn't pick her up, but she done everything right. You got the feel for Blue East a little bit. Ballyhimmock and Jet just cutting the snot off him at the third bend, letting up Deadly Expert to qualify. The kennel companions coming together there. Ballyhimmock and Jet is a dog with enormous ability, but you summed it up. He really needs to get his things together at the starting boxes. It's going to get tougher from here. That will be a little bit of a worry, but he's a very, very fast dog, and he's a young dog. That's the thing. There's a lot of young dogs in this competition, and they will get better. It's just whether it'll be quick enough.
An intriguing combination of youth and experience there in this year's Derby. It's an exceptional Derby. I think calling a winner at this stage is going to be difficult. Yeah,
like you said, I think if you gave me 6 shots at it, I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't pick the winner. There's so many. You've got bitches, you've got dogs, you've got early, you've got stairs, you've got everything, and you've got some stories in there as well with people that you just want to see progress and going a couple more rounds. Performance of the round for me is Kill McDonough. I think she was just just simply awesome what she did to two exceptional dogs down the back straight. I think she'd have won anyway, regardless of a bit of trouble. But all set for next week.
We certainly are all set for next week. And next week, we will have 48 dogs all running on the one night. For the first time in this year's Derby, we can certainly say, as we're leaving the track, we've seen the Derby winner in action here this evening. Well, that's it for Shelbourne Park tonight. Join us next week for more brilliant racing in this year's BoyleSports Irish Greyhound Derby.